Hi, I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. I am Michelle Chalfant, where we talk all about, here on the Adult Chair, how to live as emotionally healthy adults. Yeah. How do we have healthy relationships? How do we love ourselves? How do we build self-worth? How do we heal codependency? How do we recognize a dysfunctional relationship that we're in? How do we, all of these beautiful things that we humans encounter in our lifetimes. That's what we talk about here on the Adult Chair. So I'm thrilled to have you joining me today. And today's podcast is inspired by questions that have come in. You know, a few times a year when I post and I ask you all, hey, what do you want to hear? This one came in quite a bit. How do we stop feeling less than or inferior to others? Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be chatting with you about. And I just want to remind you that as we move into the fall and we have to turn the clocks back, which I can't stand, by the way. I think that rule, this policy, whatever law, whatever it is, we need to change it. I don't see the benefit in doing this. I don't understand why we have to slide back an hour in the fall. They show that depression goes up. I mean, so many things happen when we slide the clocks back. These kids have to get on the school bus in the dark. I mean, so many things. You guys know what I'm talking about. But one thing that does happen is depression does go up. Sadness goes up because there's less light. So I want to remind you, if you need help, we're here for you. We have amazing adult chair coaches that are here for you. They're trained in this model and they're here to help you. Just go to theadultchair.com/coaches if you are in need of some help. Yes. And I'm happy to announce that our next adult chair certification is drawing, and I'm so happy about this, an international crowd. We have people from other countries coming in. This first class, we actually had someone from Egypt come in. And next year, in March, when we run the next certification program, we've already had people from all over the world sign up. So I'm thrilled about that. But anyway, if you need any help, just remember, we've got coaches that are trained in this today, ready for you right now, theadultchair.com/coaches. Okay. I'm going to jump right into this because this is a big one for people. And I know that we as human beings have an ego, and the ego can really chime in and compare us to others and make us feel less than, or like we're not good enough, or again, inferior to others. I know this all too well. Yes, I also experience this. And one thing I know for sure is that when we feel these feelings, when we hear these thoughts inside of us, ignoring them does not make them go away. Turning away from them does not make them go away. In fact, oftentimes the thoughts get louder, and numbing them out is a lovely temporary fix. Does not work. So I've got 5, I'm going to call them tools, tips, keys, ideas, whatever you want to call them, to help you to not just quiet these thoughts of inferiority, but also transform them. So they're not just temporarily quieted, but actually transform them, and they get quiet permanently, and they change and they become something else, which is really a unique thing for everybody. I don't know how yours is going to change, but it typically goes into the opposite, whatever that opposite is for you. So kind of exciting. You just have to do a little bit of work. Here at the Adult Chair, I am all about simple psychology, grounded spirituality. So here we go. 5 keys to feeling less or changing your feelings of less than or inferiority. All right. Number 1, we've got to get to know ourselves. Number 1 step, get to know yourself. We have to get to know who we are, and all of us. And what I find is we're so focused on others when we're dealing with this or feeling less than, we're focusing outside of self. You must bring your attention back to self. And really what happens is this is a rebuilding of self. So one of my favorite things to do is to get out a piece of paper and write down every single quality, every single thing about who you are. Let your hand free write. Let it all rip right out of you. I am a son. I am a daughter. I am a wife. I am a husband. I am a this. I am this. I feel like this. Every single thing. I'm a good friend. I'm honest. I'm kind. I have a hot temper. I have anger issues. I cheated on my spouse. Whatever it is, write it all down. Every single thing that makes up who you are today. From the day you were born till now, and everything about you. Just write, let your hand just go. Put at the top of the paper, who am I? Boom, write it all down. This is not an exercise, by the way, of judgment. This is an exercise of getting to know yourself. I'm not inviting you to judge any aspect of that. None of it. Just write it all down. Each human on the planet, no matter how old you are, you've become who you are today because of all of your life experiences, because of all of the choices that you've made. Fantastic. Write them down. Please write them down. Don't hold anything back. No one's going to see this list but you. This is just for you. And this person that you read about when you're done is to be celebrated. Absolutely celebrated, because you are unique. You're the only you on the whole entire planet. So it's time to get to know you. So making that list and looking at it, putting it out in front of you is the first step to tackling feeling less than. And you're going to see why, because it builds. Okay, so the first step is to get to know yourself. Step number 2, accept yourself. Just like that song that Madonna sings. Accept yourself? Yes. I want you to look at that list. Every single item makes up you. And it's time that you accept you, all of you. What I find with humans is that we only want to look at the good stuff. And we go, oh yeah, no, I don't want to look at any of that stuff. That's bad. We judge it. That's bad. That makes me not good enough. That makes me less than. No, it doesn't. Look at your whole list. Accepting it is a huge, powerful step that will help you start to shift away from actually feeling less than. Because when you can look at that list and go, okay, that is me. Yep, I cheated. I cheated. Period. Or I lied to so-and-so. Or I stole something from that store. Or whatever it might be. Doesn't matter to me. Just accept it all. Now, I want to remind you, there is not a person on the planet that does not feel like at some point in their life that they made a mistake, that does not feel like, gosh, I wish I could change this or that about my choices. So please hear me. There's not a person on the planet. You're not alone in this. And I know that when we feel inferior, we think, I'm the only one that made these bad choices. I'm the only one that did this. I am the only one that did that. The truth of the matter is, we make the best choices we can make in the moment with all the knowledge and wisdom that we have. But what we typically say to ourselves is, yeah, but. When you hear yourself say, yeah, but, I want you to know your ego's engaged. Yeah, but That throws us in the adolescent chair. Yeah, but if I had only done this, my kids would have turned out better, or I would have married a different person, or I'd be in a different relationship, or I'd live over here, or if I'd only done this, then blah, blah, blah. And then we go back and we beat up on that younger version of ourselves, and we cannot do that. It's not fair. I would have parented my children in a much different way based on the wisdom that I have today versus the wisdom that I had 20 years ago. I didn't know 20 years ago what I know today. So for me to go back and judge that part of me, that woman that was 20 years younger, 10 years younger, 5 years younger, it's not fair. Think about it. It's not fair. You didn't know then what you know today. So it is really important that we look at who we are today in all of our choices that we made, good choices, bad choices, mistakes, all of it. And we have to remind ourselves, we're human. It's part of our human experience. Every single person on the planet has made a mistake, many mistakes. Please remember that. Being human is a series of experiences, both good and bad, joyful and sad, all of it. There's no such thing as perfect. If you think there is, I ask you, who sets the bar for perfection? Because let me tell you something. If I ask 10 people, hey, what's your idea of a perfect life? What's your idea of a perfect human? Every single person is going to have a different response. Now, some people might have some things that are in common, but let me tell you what, I could ask one person and they might say, oh, living in a commune would be the perfect life. Another person is going to say, living in a desert would be the perfect life. Another person would say, let me live in a suburb. Let me live in a big city. Let me live here. That would be the perfect life. Some people would say getting married, having 2.5 children is the perfect life. Another person might say, no. Perfect life is staying single so I can travel and have no responsibilities, or whatever it might be. Your idea of perfection is your idea. So to compare to others is simply not, it's just not fair. It's not fair. Instead, we just want to look at what is, which is the life that we have, the person that we became, and the person that we are today, and say, I accept it. And let me remind you, accepting does not mean you have to like it. Very different. Acceptance is different than having an opinion of, again, good or bad. It's just, I accept it. I accept who I am today. I accept all my choices, good, bad, ugly, mistakes, all of it. I'm just going to accept it. And from here, we move on. You don't have to love it. You don't have to love who you are, but you got to accept it. Okay? And you got to remind yourself, I've done the best I can do, that I've done so far. I really have done. Think about that. You didn't have the wisdom and the knowledge that you have today, even yesterday. So to go back in the past and compare who you were before to today, and why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? It is not fair. Which brings me to the next one, number 3. We have to stop comparing ourselves to others. And man, our ego is so good at this. Every human has an ego, and every ego is the part of us that compares to others and judges us for not being like so-and-so or not doing this or that. It's the judging part of who we are. We really have to step into our healthy adult self and stop it. So get into your adult chair. This is where consciousness is. And say to yourself, no more. When you find yourself comparing to others, comparing yourself to others, it's your job to redirect yourself out of that. Nothing magical can get you out of this comparison. The only thing that can get you out of this is you. Now, how can you support yourself in doing this? What would be helpful? How about lessening your experience on social media? And if you're going to do social media, make the decision, I'm not going to compare myself to anybody. I'm just going to look for 15 minutes and then jump off. I hear this so much. Oh, did you see so-and-so on social media? They have blah, 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 blah. No, 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 no. The moment you make up a story or an assumption about somebody, let me remind you, that's also ego. We are back in the adolescent chair, not healthy. It's not true. Not true. We go in and either judge people that we see, whether they're on social media or at church or out to dinner, it doesn't matter. The moment we compare ourselves and go into any kind of judgment, we're in the ego. We have engaged the ego. So think about that. Instead, we can make the decision from our healthy, conscious adult self and say to ourselves, I'm not going to do that. And choose something else. Have a different thought. You get to choose your thoughts when you're in your healthy adult chair. So choose something else. It's just a choice. It's a decision. But what happens is we get into this comparison trap about others and we are unconscious about it. And we just let our mind go. And then they do this. And then this person is like that. And I'm sure they're so happy. And oh my gosh, they've got this and they've got the perfect job and the perfect kids and the perfect whatever, and on and on and on. You have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know. So please stop making not only comparisons, but the stories and assumptions are what lead to this comparison. We have to stop. And it's a decision that we make, a conscious one. Okay, 2 more. Number 4, who said that? So let's think about the inner voices that are speaking to us when we feel less than. We want to start getting in touch with who is saying this to us. Remember now, when we're in the adult chair model is all about, or part of it, this model, is that we are parts. We're made up of, let me give you an example, 500 parts. Okay? So one of my parts is speaking to me in this way. Not all of them. All 500 parts make up, and there's not 500, I'm making that up, but it's countless parts. But let's just say, hypothetically, we have 500 parts. Those 500 parts make up my whole self. And each part has a voice. So we got to figure out who's saying this, who's making me feel inferior, what part of me is making me feel less than. So we want to figure out what part is speaking to us in this way. In order to do that, we want to slow down and get quiet and listen to the voices. Believe it or not, we're going to turn toward the voice. We're not going to run away. We're not going to numb it out. We're not going to get mad at it. We're going to get curious. That's what we do in our adult chair. We're going to get curious, turn toward that part, and just wait for it, and it will come. You're going to start to recognize, like, oh, wait a minute. I think that's my inferiority part. Or, oh, wait a minute. I think that's my less than part. Or my part that thinks I'm a loser. Or my part that thinks I'm fill in the blank. You want to get to know these parts in order to transform them. So part 2 of this is, in order to transform that part, once you recognize the voice and who's saying this, you go into that part. You get to know it on a deeper level and really dialogue with this part. There are many ways to tackle parts work, but I was working with someone and they had this really big inferiority part or inferior part. And when I invited him to look inside of himself, I said, well, what does it look like? Is it more than a voice? Does it have an image? Sometimes it has an image. And I love when I love to offer to people to draw it out or use pen and paper and dialogue in a journal about what this part is saying. But because he was in front of me, I just said to him, hey, what does this inferior part look like? Can you tell me about it? And he said, wow, it looks like a monster. It's all black and it has a whole bunch of arms. And he said, I don't really want to look at this part. It doesn't make me feel good. He says, can I stop looking? And I said, actually, would you mind moving toward this part and let the part know who you are and that you're here with it? And he did just that alone. He walked up in his mind's eye. He just walked up to this part and said, hello. My name is so-and-so, and I'm here with you. I wanted to say hello. And he paused and he opens his eyes and he goes, oh my God. He goes, it's gone. And I said, what happened? He said, I just introduced myself and let him know who I was. And he goes, it just like it vanished. I said, interesting. I have to tell you, I've done parts work for over 20 years. I've never not had someone tell me that their part, maybe it didn't transform me as quickly as this person did that I was working with, but they morph. When you give your part attention and turn toward it, it changes. It will change. I promise you it will change. Get to know it. That's how, if we want these voices to get quieter, this is what you got to do. To transform it, you got to get to know it. So this guy that I was working with, he was absolutely shocked. And what I want you to know is he just brought that unconscious part into consciousness. That's all he did. That unconscious part, bloop, became conscious. That's all it needed. All of these parts are unconscious. They don't know that you're running your life. They certainly have no idea that you are in charge, that you know what you're doing, and you may not know. We're all learning. And I typically inform my parts of this like, hey, just wanted you to know, I'm doing my best. I'm going to figure this out. So please don't worry. We are all good. And that helps my parts just calm down. But having a really healthy relationship with your inner parts, man, that's a game changer. Game changer. Getting to know who's saying what, when they're saying it, and that you've got them, you're here with them. It's a really, really powerful tool. So you can draw these parts out, journal, visualize them, have conversations. Whatever you're drawn to doing is what you want to do. You cannot get this wrong. Go with what feels right for you. There's no one exact way to do this. So just get to know it. That's my words of advice on that one. All right, number 5. We want to plant new seeds. So take a moment. If you're someone that is struggling with feeling inferior or less than, take a moment. I want you to ask yourself this question. Instead of feeling less than, how do you want to feel? So ask yourself that question right now. Got it? So you might say to yourself, I really want to feel equal. I want to feel good enough. I want to feel worthy. You might say, I want to feel more in balance with myself. So find your statement. Find the statement that really resonates with you. This is the statement you're going to plug into your subconscious mind, the one that most resonates with you. So write it down, put it on Post-it notes, put it in your office, put it in your kitchen, put it on your bedside table, put it on your mirror, all of it. So you start seeing the statement. Affirmations, when you pepper them, like put them all around you, put them in your car. This one statement, this statement will start to penetrate into that subconscious mind. And then you start running your life off of that program instead of less than. Another thing you can do with an affirmation, which I love, is mirror work. Looking in the mirror and stating an affirmation, whatever your new belief is, to yourself is so powerful. Like really looking deeply in the mirror and saying, I'm equal to all, or I'm equal to others, or I feel equal. Again, find the words that resonate most with you and say it throughout the day to yourself. This is beautiful. This is a way to plant new seeds that are the opposite of feeling inferior. All right. So I am hoping that these tools today help you to feel empowered. We feel hopeless typically when we don't know which way to turn and what to do and what's our first step. These steps, you guys, are so simple, but it does take energy and action to apply them. So please do this for yourself. This is what we do from our adult chair. Become conscious, and this is how we change our lives. So I just want you to know, I think you are amazing. And it's time that you see who you are and love that person up. That's another way to transform feeling inferior to others. So, all right, let all this land. Know that I love you all, and it is time for you to love yourself. I know this pain, you guys, and I promise you with very little effort, doesn't take much, you're going to start to feel a change in your own life. I know you can change this because I did this. I'm telling you. All right. Okay, you guys, that's all I've got for you today. Don't forget, if you would like some help this fall or anytime, of course, head over to the Adult Chair. We've got our coaches all listed there. And if you're interested in the certification, we've got that there too. All right. Have a beautiful week. Love you all. I'll see you next week seated right here in the Adult Chair.